Hi everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to discuss a very interesting and a very practical situation. That is, what happens when one of the parties is a minor. You already know that as per law, a person must be a major to enter into a contract. But if that is the case, then there will be a natural question that arises in all of our minds. We know that minors have bank accounts, minors buy goods from shops, minors receive gifts, they also earn money. So where do they stand in the eyes of contract law? So to answer all these questions, let us clearly understand the legal position of a minor under the Indian Contract Act. So firstly, let us begin with the meaning of a minor. So who is a minor? As per section 11 of the Indian Contract Act 1872, a person is competent to the contract only if he is a major of sound mind and not disqualified by law. So now the question is, who is a major? For this, we refer to the Indian Majority Act 1875. According to this act, a person attains majority on completing 18 years of age. However, if a guardian is appointed by the court, majority is attained at 21 years. So clearly, a minor is a person who has not yet reached the legal age to take binding decisions under the contract law. Now, let us come to the most important rule regarding minors. And this is where students often make mistakes. An agreement entered into by a minor is void ab initio. That means the agreement is invalid right from the beginning. This principle was clearly laid down in the famous case of Mohiri Bibi versus Dharmodas Ghosh. In simple words, law treats such an agreement as if it never existed at all. Now let us understand this with an example. Suppose A, who is 17 years old, borrows rupees 1 lakh from B and signs an agreement promising to repay it after 1 year. Later, when B asks for repayment, A says, I was a minor when I entered into the agreement. Now in this case, the agreement is void ab initio. That means B cannot enforce it in the court of law. Even though money was actually given, the law will not recognize this agreement because one of the parties was a minor. Now, the students often ask, what if the minor becomes a major later? Can he then approve or confirm the agreement? The answer is no. A minor cannot ratify an agreement even after attaining majority. Why? Because ratification is possible only when the original agreement was valid. But here the agreement was void ab initio. So, if something is void from the beginning, there is nothing to approve later. For example, A, who is a minor, enters into a contract to purchase a mobile phone. After turning 18, he promises to pay the price. Still, the agreement remains invalid because this agreement cannot be ratified after minor becomes a major. Next, let us understand an important protection given to the minors. That is, minor can always plead minority. Minor can always plead minority. That means he is not stopped to do so even where he has taken any loan or entered into any contract by falsely representing that he was a major. So the rule of estoppel can't be applied against the minor. That is, he can plead his minority in defense. For example, a minor tells a lender that he is 20 years old and takes a loan. Later, he refuses to repay by claiming minority. Though morally it may look unfair, legally the law will still protect the minor in such a case. Now, let us understand whether a minor can ever be held liable. So, a minor is never personally liable for contractual obligations. A minor can be held liable only for torts only if the tort is independent of a contract. But if the tort arises directly out of a contract, the minor is still not liable. Let's understand this with an example. If a minor steals someone's goods, then he will be held liable. Whereas, if a minor damages goods while performing a contract, in such a case a minor cannot be held liable. So therefore, a minor can be held liable for tort, but he cannot be personally liable for any contractual obligations. Now comes a very balanced concept introduced by law. Now, according to the doctrine of restitution, if a minor has obtained a benefit by representation and that benefit is still traceable, the court may order its return. However, minor will not be personally liable, only the property or the benefit can be restored. Now, what does this mean? Let me explain it to you in simple words. If a minor takes a watch by misrepresenting his age and the watch is still with him, the court may order the return of the watch. But if the money is already spent, no recovery can be made. Till now, we have seen restrictions. Now, let us see where the law allows minors. A minor can be a beneficiary of a contract. That means agreements for the benefit of a minor are valid. Minor can enforce such agreements through guardians. Example, gift in favor of a minor is valid. Insurance policy taken for a minor is valid. The idea is simple. Law protects minors. It does not punish them. A minor cannot become the partner because partnership arises from contract. But he may be admitted to the benefits of the partnership with the consent of all the partners. He can share profits, he can inspect the accounts also, but he cannot be held personally liable for the liabilities of the firm. Now, minor can also act as an agent. Why? Because agent binds the principal, not himself. Therefore, here also minor cannot be held personally liable. Therefore, the principal remains liable for the acts of the agent if he is a minor. And finally, let us understand one very practical exception. If necessaries suited to the condition in life of a minor are supplied, the supplier can claim reimbursement from the minor's property. For example, some of the necessaries are food, clothing, education, medical expenses. Again, please note here, liability is against property, not against the minor personally. So to conclude, the law does not treat a minor as irresponsible. It is only treating a minor as someone who needs protection. That is why agreements with minors are void ab initio, but benefits to minors are always protected. So with this, we come to the end of our discussion on the position of a minor under the Indian Contract Act.